Mark 9:1 is pretty straightforward, maybe a few little tricky constructions in the Greek. Its real challenge, though, is in terms of its meaning and the fulfillment of the prophecy. Kai elegan altois, amen lego humin, hati, asin, tines hoda, ton hestekaton, hoitenes ume gusontai thanatu, heos on idosin, tain basileon tu theou, eleluthuion, and duname. So it means, and he was saying to them, and it's interesting, the NASB supplies the antecedent. It says, and Jesus was saying, but without putting Jesus in italics. You just got to be careful of some of these translations. And he was saying to them, truly I say to you all that, and then here's your verb, they are, and then some here, and then what's this? Well, it's a participle, isn't it, from histemi. Why is it genitive? This is the interesting question. Well, we learned this back in verse 28. You have the head noun, which is a smaller group, and you have the genitive, which is the larger group. So some of those standing. So it's a participle used substantively, but it's a partitive genitive. So there are some of those standing here who. So I would say there are some here of those standing. In other words, those who are standing here, those who are with me, which is actually one of the variants. There are some of those standing here who, and then this is a very important construction in Greek. It's an emphatic negation. It's a very strong way to prohibit something. It's ume and an aorist subjunctive, who will absolutely, in other words, Jesus is being emphatic. They will not taste death. It's a Hebraism for experiencing death. There are some of those who are here who will not experience death until, now here's your indicator of the subjunctive, until they see the kingdom of God. Then what's this? Now, this is one of those tense forms you just have to memorize. It's a perfect active participle from erchomai. They will not taste death until they see the kingdom of God having come in power. So this is feminine, going back to basileon. So let's phrase this. And they were saying to him, truly I say to you that, okay, here's what was said. Some of those standing here who will not experience death until they see the kingdom of God having come in power. So we're going to put this connective over. I say to you, what does he say? He says that there are some of those standing here, and we're going to run out of room. So it's one of those situations where you have to put an extra line and bring this one over. You don't want to make it look like it's underlining anything, under anything in particular. So this is going back to tenes. There are some who will not taste death. And then you have your adverbial. They're not going to taste death until they see the kingdom of God. And what about the kingdom of God? That the kingdom of God has come in power. It's pretty easy to run out of space on these longer sentences, isn't it? The main question, of course, in this passage is, to what event is Jesus referring? Now, the very next verse has a specific time designation followed by the transfiguration. And so some people think that the event of the kingdom of God coming in power was fulfilled in the transfiguration. The promise, saying that people aren't going to die before this happens, doesn't make a lot of sense. since it's only 6 days away. Now, maybe the transfiguration is a precursor of the powerful coming of the kingdom of God, but it can't refer to the transfiguration. Other people have said it refers to the resurrection, maybe to the giving of the Spirit at Pentecost. Of course, other than Judas, everyone experienced that. Some people say it refers to the growth of the kingdom, the spread of the kingdom of God throughout the ancient world, like what you see in the book of Acts. I'm inclined to think that's what he's talking about. Some people think it refers to the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70. There are others, of course, who say that this is a failed prophecy. Jesus thinks he's going to have his second return within a lifetime, and he was just wrong. But there's no reason to come to that conclusion when there's so many other sensible, possible fulfillments of the prophecy. Remember, the context in Acts chapter 8 is kind of hard. It's on discipleship and the cost of discipleship. And so as an encouragement, Jesus is saying the kingdom of God is going to come powerfully, and most of you are going to be able to see it. Peter, James, and John are going to get a precursor of that in the transfiguration, but most of them got to see it as the gospel spread throughout the ancient world in powerful ways.